Today on Moviewallas, we talk about Better Man, The Room Next Door, and Babygirl. It's time for Moviewallas. Hi, this is Joe.
Hi, it's Rashmi.
And Yazdi as well.
Moviewallas is your weekly dose of film reviews, movie news, and general banter in theatres, on DVD, online streaming, or in the back of an airplane. If you love the movies, this show is for you.
Hello, everyone.
Happy times.
Hello.
Got a lot to talk about today. We're probably going to try and do multiple shows. We've got 3 movies.
We have so much to say.
We have Oscar
much.
reactions. We have our top 10s. What have you been doing? More shows.
Clearly not enough podcasting.
Yes.
Let's remedy that.
Yes, indeed.
Shall we jump into...
Yeah.
No banter. Just jump into
all right.
recommendations.
Seeing as we're busy, let's just get going, get cracking with things, because we do have a lot to do today. So, and Yazdi's poor little Sawyer is at home crossing her legs. Hopefully not for too long.
She'll be fine.
Okay. So, I guess let's do our segment of I can't find anything to watch on video on demand. This is where we scour the streaming services to make recommendations for things for you to pick, because like us, you probably find yourselves flicking through many options on the streaming services. Yeah, that's the sound of...
That's the sound of...
I'll spend 45 minutes
We always talk about
movie
this.
and not
Yeah.
pick a movie.
Yeah. I have to give Joe a limit. I say if we don't find anything in 15 minutes, then I'm picking something. Okay. I have one ready.
Go for it, Rashmi.
Okay, so mine is... it's the show Paris and Nicole, the Encore, which is playing on... I know, on Peacock.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No.
You know, it's been 20 years since The Simple Life came out, and I wasn't a huge fan of The Simple Life, which was, you know, kind of one of the first reality shows, and everyone who listens knows I love trashy reality shows. But, you know, we kind of watched Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie grow up on the screen, and actually this is a really sweet reality show about friendship. I mean, Joe, you were watching me as I was watching it. And I think I had a smile on my face for 90% of every episode that we watched. And it actually made me laugh out loud. It's just this cute little 3 or 4 episodes series where Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie come back together, and it's a way of them celebrating the 20-year anniversary of The Simple Life.
Okay, so it is a documentary.
It's a docu-series, yeah. No. It's just hilarious.
Okay.
All I have to say to that is Sana-sa.
Yeah.
have
If
no
you know,
idea
you
what that
know.
is. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll add my 2 cents to that. Yeah, it was fun. I didn't watch it
Fully.
I probably watched a third of it, but it was fun. If you did watch A Simple Life back in the day, it was probably one of the first of those like reality shows.
Yeah, celeb reality.
And they did kind of it was quite innovative in the sense of it was very cleverly edited with silly music and sound, but it felt kind of like Mania, and I think there's a lot less mania this time around, but there was a lot of nostalgia, so that was cute.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see, you know, 2 young girls in their 20s who are now, you know, in their 40s and are parents and have moved on from that paparazzi life, and really sweet. But I just loved the friendship aspect of it. It kind of really warmed my heart.
Speaking of the friendship aspect, that's very apropos of my recommendation.
Oh, okay.
Which is a movie which has just received 2 Oscar nominations. And if you haven't watched it, what are you doing?
I haven't watched it.
What are you doing, Joe?
I know.
Is the movie A Real Pain, which just dropped on Hulu. And if you don't have Hulu, get Hulu. It's like $9. You can cancel after a couple of weeks. But A Real Pain is a short movie. It's like 90 minutes. We've discussed it in a recent podcast. It won 2 Oscar nominations, one for Best Original Script or Best Adapted Script for Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg wrote and directed this movie. And the second nomination is to Kieran Culkin for Best Supporting Actor.
And he's been winning every award so far.
He is, yeah. And we have a whole other show on our reaction to
Yes.
Oscar nominations coming up. And we'll talk more about it. But how often do you have an opportunity to watch a movie streaming, that has just been Oscar nominated? You will not regret it. What I love about this movie is it does not make a big deal about it. It's very understated.
Yep.
It's about 2 cousins who decided to go to Europe for like a Holocaust tour. Not a tour, Holocaust kind of...
Like a homage to their grandmother.
homage to the grandmother.
Yeah.
And it's about the friendship between these 2 cousins and how people are different and how they frustrate each other and still their family. And it's a sweet, sweet movie.
It's very nice.
It's lovely.
I can't believe it's a directorial debut by Jesse Eisenberg. I mean, I think more great things are to come from him. It's beautifully written, actually.
Yeah.
And it's very efficient.
And not to harp on about this, but Kieran Culkin, rightly so, is getting the bulk of the recognition for this. But I think Jesse Eisenberg, who also is in the movie, is also acting in it, is I think equally as good, because he has to play the straight man to Kieran Culkin's kind of wacky loose cannon, and Eisenberg is very good, I think, in the movie, even as an actor, outside of his writing and directing. So a real pain. Do yourself a favor.
On Hulu.
On Hulu, yes.
Joe.
My pick is the 2023 release movie Godzilla Minus One.
Oh, I love that movie.
I know we've spoken about it a lot on this podcast, and I may have even recommended it before. So, all I'm going to say is, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's a monster movie in the classic vein of the Godzilla movies. There's actually not a whole lot of Godzilla in it. It's more about the people and the story of the people. So, if it's a very entertaining big movie feel, but it's surprisingly emotional in its delivery. And I know, Yazdi, you loved the hell out of this one, didn't you?
I love it because it almost doesn't matter that it's a Godzilla movie. So if you're the kind of person who's like, Godzilla is not my cup of tea.
Or like, Godzilla, the 80th movie that's ever come out.
If you're rolling your eyes saying, okay, I'm not gonna write that down. No, this movie is for everyone. Watch it. If you like old archetypal, simple characters interacting with each other, it's so clean and crisp and well put together, and it's very old fashioned, and I love that.
Yes. So go check that one out. Rashmi, your pick was
Paris and Nicole, the Encore on Peacock.
Yazdi, you had
A Real Pain on Hulu.
And I did Godzilla Minus One on Netflix. All right, showtime. Let's talk about our 3 movies. Again, as a reminder, we're going to be talking about Better Man, The Room Next Door, and Babygirl. That order?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's get going then with Better Man.
Okay, so I'll be introducing that one. The director, Michael Gracie, kind of broke onto the scene unexpectedly in 2017 when a movie he made with a lot of big name stars, but nobody expected that movie to be very successful, but it kind of, through word of mouth, got to be so successful. It's the movie The Greatest Showman with Zendaya and Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman and others. So after the grand success of The Greatest Showman, he follows it up this year in 2025 with the movie Better Man. And Better Man is also a musical. In fact, it's a musical biopic of none other than British pop star Robbie Williams. And essentially, the one-liner for the movie is the meteoric rise, dramatic fall, and remarkable resurgence of British pop superstar Robbie Williams is covered in this particular movie. Like I said, it's directed by Michael Gracie. The writers are Simon Gleeson, Oliver Cole, and Michael Gracie. And the movie stars Robbie Williams, which is interesting, John O'Davis, Steve Pemberton, Kate Mulvaney, and a few other English actors. So this movie is in theaters right now, should people bother to seek it out. Better Man. There is should I mention it? I will mention it. The conceit of the movie is that the character played by Robin Williams, through a very young teenager all the way to later in his life, is played by a monkey. And I know that sounds absurd, but it's a human being with a monkey's face. So here we go. Off you go.
I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. I mean, Robbie Williams, we were talking just before the show started, was in the band Take That. And Take That was a huge phenomenon in the UK when Joe and I were, in our kind of late teens, early 20s. So we're very familiar with Robbie Williams, his work in Take That, his work as an artist, a solo artist, and I actually got to sit next to him on a plane. But that's a whole other story.
That's a great story.
That's yeah. But I really love this movie. Yazdi, I know you'd seen the screening. We didn't get to see the screening because we were traveling. We watched it subsequently, and I didn't find the conceit of the monkey as annoying as I normally would. It did reminisce to me a lot of Rocket Man, and I realize now that Michael Gracie was actually an executive producer on the movie Rocket Man. So I can see now why there's some similarity.
But Elton John.
Yeah, the Elton John movie 3 years ago, I think it was out, 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. I love this movie. More to say, but go ahead.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this as well. Look, I mean, I think of the three of us, I'm probably the biggest Robbie Williams
I think
fan.
so.
I definitely purchased one of his albums, but one of my favorite pop songs of all time,
Ever.
Angels, is featured in this movie. And, as a result, I've probably paid more attention to Robbie Williams' solo career. I was not a big fan of Take That. Look, I mean, this is just a very traditional biopic.
Yeah.
It's a great and also unusual decision to use a monkey to portray Robbie Williams throughout his life, and I read this in one of the reviews I kind of picked up on, but there is no explanation for why that is, other than I think early on in the movie, Robbie Williams alludes to the fact that this is how he sees himself, as a performing monkey. And so that's what he does. So we don't ever get into why or what, but it's an unusual choice, but it somehow works. And after a few minutes of the CGI is so good.
It's very good.
That the uncanny valley that we would ordinarily experience by having a pure CGI character in a live action movie. I mean, it's better done than Planet of the Apes or any of that. I just believed it.
Well, it stands on the shoulders of Planet of the Apes, I'm sure.
I'm sure, yeah. But they've refined the technology to a point where I just believed it, and then I kind of forgot about it, and I never really revisited that concept, other than just thought, this is Robbie Williams, this is his story. But it's a very entertaining movie. The musical numbers are done very well. They integrate nicely into the narrative. There's some nice choices of where to play things.
Yeah.
So I thought it was fun.
Yazdi.
So I'm really torn about this movie. I listen. This movie has razzle dazzle like nobody's business, and I think the reason why, The Greatest Showman was such a big hit and got around through word of mouth is because this guy knows how to do song, he knows how to do dance, he knows how to do dazzle.
Yeah,
there are 3 song picturizations in this movie that are 5 times worth the price of admission to go to see it at the cinemas. I don't know if you guys, I saw it in the theater.
It's splendid.
And honestly, he is like at the top of the top. I don't know anybody is matching this person in terms of how these songs are picturized. If you love the giddy pleasure of movies, if you're a musical person, if you love like fast action cinematography, watch the movie just for that. So I'm just amazed at. It seems like the camera is a feather because the camera kind of turns every which in every plane, and it's just swooping and coming down. And
I have no idea how they did it.
I've no, and it's like you said, it's a perfect blending of CGI and human work. Where sometimes you can see that that piece was CGI. Like even in Gladiator 2, it was like when I was watching on the big screen, I'm like, oh, that is CGI, and that's not good CGI. But you never feel this in the movie. I have 2 issues with the movie, and we can talk more about it. But my single biggest issue of the movie is when I see a biopic on Bob Dylan, I want to come out at the end knowing something about Bob Dylan, the person. I don't know if a complete unknown manages to do that. I think this one doesn't manage to do that at all. I did not come away knowing anything about Robbie Williams, the person. Yeah, he was bullied as a child. He loved his grandma. He did a lot of drugs. That was it. I don't know, like, what makes him tick? What makes him angry? Like, what kind of human being is he? Nothing. It's so caught up in, at least that is my, maybe unfair. It's so caught up in the biopic that I never got a sense from, or maybe I was too distracted by all the razzle-dazzle, never got a sense of coming away knowing Robbie Williams as a human being. So
for the listeners, by the way, I just had a shocked expression. I think,
me too.
That's all I saw. But Rashmi,
No, I was going to say, I think that's a good observation, but I think that's also a reflection on who Robbie Williams may be. I don't think there is much more to him. I think he is just a man who was driven to be famous, as you see in the biopic, from a very young age. He was just, that was who he was going to be, and I think that's what he's famous for. He's famous for being famous, I think. There's not much more to him in my mind.
Look, I mean, this has the Rocket Man treatment.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we got to learn more about Elton John than his public persona. Yeah. And I think this is clearly, I mean, Robbie Williams narrates this movie. This is his version of events. And this is him telling his story his way. Despite the fact that the director and all of the writers but this is the story that he feels he wants to tell. So you're right, Yazdi. I mean, we're not going to get deep into his psyche here. This is his life as perceived by him, and I think he's kind of honest about that. And I think he's very, to me, I actually think he's very. So an example would be his disputes over the years with Gary Barlow, who was the lead person in Take That. It was a very public bun fight that they had. And he speaks, about that. I think he's honest in terms of how he viewed it. So I think, again, this is his story. It's like, again, a movie I loved last year was the Amy Winehouse Back to Black. This was Amy's family telling their story the way that they remembered Amy in the most, sugary, saccharine-y, never mind like Amy Winehouse's, substance abuse problems and all of that. No, this is Amy Winehouse, like the and this is Robbie,
sweet, yeah.
This is Robbie Williams,
No, but I think it went there. I think he was very honest about, his love for Nicole Appleton and then his drug use and what impact that had, and his regret over the the grandmother, and I think it's as honest as it can be whilst being entertaining. That's what I would describe it as.
And maybe that's fair. Maybe, like you said, maybe there is nothing more to know about him. But I, like with Amy Adams, I'm saying Amy Winehouse. We know that she was a prickly person. We know that she was kind of, got into everybody's faces from the documentary and from the person. I still don't know. Is Robbie Williams good to be around with? Is he prickly? What upsets him? Those kinds of things. But maybe that's too much to ask.
I mean, right? I think he's not necessarily sugarcoating who he is either. I mean, the depression that he encountered, it's a classic kind of thing that from the outside, we always look at these celebrities and go, boo-hoo, poor you. It's the same kind of tortured persona that, like, someone like George Michael had, right? On top of his craft and, critically acclaimed, and yet this guy struggled with being happy over, his record contract, and so I think it's the same kind of celebrity thing. And I don't know, Robbie Williams here doesn't have. He gets into kind of his wallowing in self-pity over his extraordinary success and his insecurities about going out on stage in front of people. So, but I know what you're saying. Yeah. It's not deep.
Yeah. And I have one other issue, but it's kind of a spoiler, so I'm going to, and it's about how the movie eventually concludes. So I won't go into there. We can talk about it offline.
You mean the final scene? And
I mean, I think, okay. So
let's chat a little bit. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie really, to its credit, like
spoiler alert.
To its credit, the movie really goes like to the bottom of the bottom, right? When he is on drugs and when he's kind of spiraling,
yes.
The movie just drags you through the mud for a good half an hour. Mm-hmm. And then one fine morning, he wakes up and he decides he wants to be a better man, hence the name of the movie. There is no motivation. There is nothing. He just decides enough of this. And maybe that's how it works out. But I wanted a little bit more pathology to that. Like he just decided to turn the corner, which again, maybe that's what happened. So I just found it, again, I found it like there is something more to that story, but you're not telling us the full picture. So I kind of felt it was kind of guarded in a way. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 Okay, let's score this one.
Okay, I guess Rashmi's giving me the hand gesture to
Yes.
give the score first.
Yes.
Then, I mean, goodness me, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think if I'd seen it in theaters, it would have been an easily, like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I like this kind of stuff. And again, it's just very well done. It's the behind the music rockumentary that you might see on MTV, but just done to a higher level of panache with wonderful direction, great visuals, and a really well paced story for me. I mean, I didn't find that depressive phase as tiresome as you maybe, Yazdi, but it was super fun. So a really stingy 8 out of 10. But I'm going to watch this again. I had so much fun with it. And the soundtrack is also fabulous. Mm-hmm. Some great renditions of Robbie Williams songs that have been redone for the soundtrack, resung by Robbie Williams. So, yeah, I really, really like this.
Yazdi.
6.5 out of 10, which I'm going to back down to a 6. But I think this particular filmmaker, Michael Garvey, he has style to burn. Yeah. I can't wait to watch what he does next. So again, I'm going to repeat what I said at the front. If you like dazzle and just if you want to be like
floored.
Yeah, floored. Like just like, oh my God, you want your eyes to kind of go big. Go watch this in the theater.
Yeah.
I mean,
I regret
honestly,
not seeing it in the theater.
I mean, I haven't seen anything this dazzling outside of like Moulin Rouge, right? I mean, there have been so many musicals since then.
Yes.
But while I was watching this, I was like, how the hell did they do this? How did they picturize this? It's so inspired, so creative. But I had an issue with, and maybe that's my fault. I wanted more from a biopic. But if you love cinemas, you should watch it.
Yeah,
despite my low score.
There was one scene which blew me away, which is they're singing on the streets of London.
Yeah.
There's like a beautiful number, and the choreography and the color and the way that song is put together. I think it's re-sung or re-engineered, but
and seemingly hundreds of extras. Thousands.
Stunning for me.
Yeah.
This is easily an 8 out of 10. I love this movie.
Even the She's the One with Nicole Appleton.
Yes,
it really got. I mean, it's very positive about her, but it really conveyed his love for her.
Yeah.
And how he saw her.
Yeah.
Just beautifully done. Like super, super.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Enough of A Better Man, and let's move to The Room Next Door. So I think, am I introducing this one briefly? So this is this is a Tilda Swinton movie.
Yes.
So again, I'm not quite ready to chat about this. I'll read the synopsis directly from Rotten Tomatoes. So Ingrid, played by Julianne Moore, and Martha, played by Tilda Swinton, were close friends in their youth when they worked together at the same magazine. Ingrid went on to become an autofiction novelist, while Martha became a war reporter, and they were separated by the circumstances of life. After years of being out of touch, they meet again in an extreme but savagely sweet situation. Directed by Pedro Almodovar. I'm going to...
Almodovar, I think.
Thank you. I put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllables again, as I often do when I'm not ready. But we have Julianne Moore, Tilda Swinton, John Turturro, among others in this movie. I didn't get to see this. It's certainly reviewed very well. So what did the two of you think of it?
Yes, he's going to go first.
This is what I wrote on my letterboxd, and it's very short. Just gorgeous. And to the movie's great credit, I can see a lot of things. A lot of people have an issue with this movie, and we can discuss that. But the movie's greatest strength is it's never weighed down by the big themes it explores. And that music, we'll talk about the score, is a salve for the soul. I've been listening to that soundtrack nonstop on Apple Music.
Wow.
Oh my God, it's
so not
beautiful.
often I hear you say that, Yazdi.
So I don't know how he does it, but I think we are fortunate to be living in the age of Almodovar. Almodovar was a enfant terrible. He used to make these really provocative movies coming out of Spain. And as he's gotten older, he did Pain and Glory with Antonio Banderas, and he did so many movies. As he's getting older and I think closer towards death, his movies have become more grounded and more speculative, and he's kind of trying to come to terms with death and the end of life. And this movie does that in such a beautiful fashion. And essentially, it's just a chamber piece between these two actors. It's Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore, but very little interaction with other actors. But anyway, we'll talk more about it.
Yeah.
What did
Okay.
you
So
think, Rashmi?
I love this movie. So I think he really caught my attention. Yes, you just mentioned Pain and Glory with
Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas, and that was such an amazing movie. We saw it at a film festival many years ago, and then Parallel Mothers from a few years ago, which is such a great movie.
I love
So it's the
that
same.
movie.
Yeah,
And
this is the same.
Volver, he's made so many movies, and
So
he's
he's
just
got
a
a whole
master.
list. Those are the three that I'm aware of. I haven't gone back and watched most of the other ones, but this has definitely made me take note of him and want to go back and watch more of his movies. I love this movie. This is such an unusual topic, right? It's very and the way it's played, this interaction between the Tilda Swinton character and the Julianne Moore character, it's almost about like assisted dying, but it's not. And it brings up moral questions, right? It brings up the whole ethics of dying and aiding dying and dying with dignity and being able to die with dignity, all those conversations that we have. Joe, you and I've had many of those conversations. Beautifully portrayed, but it's visually stunning. Everything is just, the production of this movie is, I want to live in those apartments. I want to live in the house that they have. The way that the characters are dressed, their interaction with each other, everything is so note perfect. This is beautifully acted, fantastic screenplay, and the soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's got like old 80s music.
It is a very stately, like almost classical score, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could just spend a whole week immersing yourself in the world of Almodovar. I mean, he became famous. He came out of Spain. He became famous for making these movies, which were just like a pop of color. I mean, he's a visualist, if he's nothing else, and he made Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, High Heels, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, Live Flesh, All About My Mother, Talk to Her, Bad Education. Anyway, all these movies. But The Room Next Door, I mean, we should just say it, because that's all. The movie's about two friends who are not like the best friends, but they are good friends. They've known each other, and one of them is terminal. She's dying, and treatment is no longer working for her. And she's like, I'm not going to go through more chemotherapy. It's not going to help me. And she decides that in her own terms, she's going to kill herself. She's going to have an assisted death, but she doesn't want to die alone. So she asks her friend, can you be with me room next door so that somebody can tend to me after I pass? Now, this sounds like a very morbid concept, but it's not. There is a lot of criticism I've heard about the movie is that it feels very stilted and it feels very artificial. And I get that. By the way, a lot of people this is, by the way, Almodovar's first movie in the English language. All of his previous movies have been in Spanish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people think, his screenplay doesn't transfer well in the English language. But I think there's always been an artificiality to all of his movies. They're all necessarily very dramatic, necessarily very melodramatic, very theatrical.
I was going to say that.
Like the colors and like, when Tilda Swinton is standing against a window, like her dress matches the color of the wall behind, right?
Or she's in a bright yellow suit with, her stark blonde hair and beautiful red lipstick. It's beautiful to look at.
So I think that comes with the territory, but I really like that in spite of this morbid material, Almodovar really kind of stews into like, maybe he is considering death very closely, and he's thinking about how do we give dignity to death? And he's thinking about what would be the logistics? Like, what preparations would you need to make? Who would you kind of reel in? How would you deal with your kids? How would you deal with all the after arrangements, the previous arrangements? Like, it's officially illegal to kill yourself. And so how do you deal with the criminality aspect of it? And there's, what's his name?
John Turturro.
Not John, the other guy. Alessandro Nivola plays a policeman who kind of...
Yes.
And he has a short scene, but he gave me the chills. I mean,
yes.
So the movie is... I'm just so happy that somebody's making movies about these deep subjects without wallowing or without dragging it down.
Yeah.
And still looking so gorgeous.
Yeah, it's not like one of those ugly crime movies either.
No.
It's just this beautiful, this beautiful story about friendship and what lengths a friend will go to and what implications helping someone die has on the person who's remaining behind. Really good movie. Excellent.
I did not cry, and I cry easily. And I did not cry
Same.
because the movie's not looking to manipulate you.
Yeah.
I did not feel emotionally yanked around. I just felt, I came out of it feeling, I'm happy to be alive, and I'm happy that somebody's considering all of these issues and how beautiful it is to spend 2 hours in this world.
I felt like, where is this cast's Oscar nomination?
Yes.
And we shall talk about that next in one of our next shows.
Yes.
Never materialized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
score.
Criminal. 8 out of 10. It's so, I don't know. If people complain, all the movies are the same, there's nothing good
This is not the same.
This is not the same. And you want to see these two actors at the peak of their powers, Julianne Moore, Tilda Swinton. Oh, just go watch this.
They've been peaking consistently.
Yes.
For like
they're masterful.
10 years. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Wonderful. Okay.
And my score is also an 8.
Okay.
Yeah. Just look at the poster for the movie. I mean, this is what the whole movie is like.
Wow.
You know, it's just visually so striking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So definitely worth checking out. I think the movie's only in theaters, but I'm sure it will eventually
get
show up on a
streaming
streaming service. The Room Next Door.
Wonderful. Okay. Then let's move on
Lots
to
of 8s.
our third movie of the week, which is Babygirl. Babygirl is directed by somebody with the same Christian name as my mother, Helena. So the director here is Helena Rain. And I only say that because it's quite unusual. You don't meet a lot of Helenas in the world. So Helena Rain is the director of this movie, which stars Nicole Kidman. It stars Antonio Banderas, Harris Dickinson. I'll stop there. And the basic premise of this movie, again, very short description here on the Rotten Tomatoes homepage, is a high-powered CEO puts her career and family on the line when she begins a torrid affair with her much younger intern. R-rated, Nicole Kidman.
Very R-rated.
A24. Okay. Was this worth watching or not?
You know, a lot was made about Nicole Kidman's performance in this movie, and so I was really excited when we got the screener for this, and I put it on and I watched it and I was like, nah, it's okay. It's okay. It's what was the Demi Moore film back in the 90s where she's the exec? Can you remember that one?
Yeah.
Disobedience.
Okay,
This.
I'll look it up.
Okay,
Carry on.
so
it started with D.
it did. Yeah. So it's like that film meets 50 Shades of Grey in my mind.
Disclosure.
This is Disclosure meets 50 Shades of Grey. I like what it's trying to explore. So it's kind of saying if a female in a powerful position takes advantage of a younger male who works for them, what does that do to the dynamic, right? Does it switch it? Do we feel less concerned for the male because he's male? Do we feel sympathy for the female because she's tempted by this younger male? I don't know. It kind of brings up a lot of different, again, moral, ethical questions. It's okay. It's okay. I didn't love it.
I'm so happy this movie exists. I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
And anytime somebody goes out on a limb sexually, I'm there for them because I think
You really are.
we are in an age of so much like hide everything. But the premise of this movie is that Nicole Kidman is this high-powered CEO in a beautiful marriage with Antonio Banderas, has kids, but she's not sexually satisfied, and she loves to be in a S&M kind of relationship where she wants to be the S. She wants to be the one who is submissive. So she gets pleasure out of somebody dominating her.
I thought S was sadist.
Oh,
well,
so
anyway.
maybe submissive. I don't. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
But she wants to be dominated, and who makes a movie with Nicole Kidman about that? Can you imagine? The entirety of the movie is a tightrope where the audience could be laughing at you the whole time because of everything that these actors are doing. And the audience, I laughed. The audiences were laughing because I was so nervous. I'm like, no, you're not doing that on screen.
It's nervous laughter.
It's nervous laughter.
It's definitely nervous laughter.
No, you're not going there. You're not going to. But I like that this Helena Rain, by the way, who is younger than Nicole Kidman is. This kind of movie reminds me of The Substance in a way, also made by a female director and dealing with a lot of, frank topics. So I like that this movie exists and it's playing in theaters in 2025 when everybody wants to be like, shut this down, close this down, no nudity, none of this, all of that. But I also like the movie kind of loses its way. I know what you mean. The movie loses its way, but it does play a lot with power dynamics, right? She is the CEO. This guy is an intern. So there is the power structure. There is a very interesting dynamic between the Nicole Kidman character and her black administrative assistant who is asking for a promotion and not getting it.
Yes, I forgot about that.
That's very well played.
Yes.
There's power dynamics between her and her husband, Antonio Banderas, because they are equals. And the movie really plays with all of these questions. And ultimately, the movie asks, like, how much do you put on the line to fulfill your pleasures in life, not just sexual, right? And he tells her at one point, I mean, their relationship between those two is very weird as well. But he tells her at one point, I have nothing to lose. You have everything to. If people find out that you have done this, you have everything to lose. He's just some lowly intern, and everybody's going to be like, she took advantage of him. So, I like that the movie in its last act kind of goes into what that might look like. What's the price you pay, and would it have been different if it was a male CEO and a younger versus
the question, because
so
whenever
many
we
questions.
get into gender dynamics, I always like to say, what if we flip the roles?
Right. And this is that movie.
What if we flip the genders? Do we still have a movie here? Or is it all about the fact that this is societally opposite of what we believe happens more routinely, kind of thing?
And to give flowers where they're due, I don't know of any other 50-plus year actor who would have done this role other than Nicole Kidman. She is fearless. And not just the nudity part, that's fine. She's been naked in other movies. But again, doing things for like 2 hours, which when you're filming it, you're like, people will be laughing at this, but people will be laughing at this. And they just go for it. They're like, let them laugh at it. So
yeah, Harris Dickinson is an interesting choice to cast her against. He's an English actor. He was in Triangle of Sadness. He was in Where the Crawdads Sing.
Is he the model in?
He's the model in the Triangle of Sadness. He's got a very unique look. I couldn't quite buy him.
Yeah, I
don't know that if I was the CEO of an organization that I would give everything up for this very young looking boy. Like, I feel like he was a little bit miscast, and I wish they had gone for someone a little bit older, because he looks like a school child. Like, he looks like he's just a high school leaver at this point in time. That seemed a little unbelievable. So a little bit of miscasting, I think, that didn't help me.
I wouldn't hire him either, because I think he's playing games with her the whole time.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a certain nastiness and a certain degree of like foresight. Like, I'm going to play with this person and see how much, like how weak is the CEO. Let me play with her. And you need somebody with some underlying darkness. And Harris Dickinson doesn't have that darkness.
He just seems like a really nice, like a nice young boy.
Putting Tom Holland in the role, kind of thing.
Yeah. He's,
Exactly. So he becomes less believable.
Like Kieran Culkin would have been superb in this role, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Someone with a bit of bite and unpredictability.
Because then the actions would match the persona.
Yeah.
Because right now his actions don't match his persona. Like, why is this? Is it all a game for him? Why is he doing this? It doesn't seem to make any sense.
So okay, score.
I really like this movie because of how brave it is. I
just like all the fruitiness.
Not just, I like that people are asking. I mean, imagine a movie playing at AMC, which is about a woman's sexual need to be dominated. Those movies just don't get distributed.
Yeah.
So I'm happy somebody's making these movies. There's a big, we'll talk more about it. There's a big deal made about how come Nicole Kidman didn't get nominated for Best Actress.
Yeah.
I understand why she did not. I wouldn't have been opposed if she did for this one. But I'm just glad that she's doing this at this stage of her life. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, for me it's a 6. 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
This Babygirl, didn't like that Babygirl.
People should check it out though, because I was very nervous when I was watching it.
Yeah.
I was like, don't do that. No,
Yeah.
why are you doing that? This is against HR policy. Don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. This is a masterclass of don't do this.
Okay. It's not one to watch on the plane then, because
Nah, not really. Not if you're next
always,
to someone besides me.
I was going to say there's some movies that you watch on the plane and
you have to skip the 15-second skip.
And then there's like younger people around. I'm like, why are they allowing this on the plane? Okay. All right. Well,
That's it.
Reviews of A Better Man, The Room Next Door, and Babygirl. Check. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you for hanging out with us on the podcast. Don't forget that we are also on YouTube. Please check us out there. We have more podcasts coming your way soon, so stay subscribed to the feed, and we'll be back as soon as we can with one of those. So until, I guess, our next podcast, it's Too Many Movies, Too Little Time. A goodbye from me.
And me.
And me as well.